Pilchen, alumni of William Penn University. With me this morning in the first part of the hour where we're going to talk with some significant alumni and veteran athletes. Here we start with the President of William Penn University, John Ottosson. John, good afternoon. The weather is, for the most part, I mean, it's cold, it's windy, but it's not raining.
Absolutely, and it's football weather if you're a player.
I couldn't agree more. And alongside John Ottosson is Athletic Director Nik Rule. We're going to be talking to both these gentlemen. John, let's start with you. I was at the Career Achievement Awards banquet last night, as were you. Excellent job, if I may say. And I thought, in particular, there were several of the speakers that were just awesome. Explain a little bit about why homecoming and something of this nature with these awards that go to alumni and people that are involved with the university are so important.
Well, you know, I often refer to William Penn as a family, and those alumni coming back, recognizing their achievements, it brings people back together. And great thing about Penn is we have always gotten kids from everywhere. The challenge with Penn is they go back to everywhere, so sometimes it's like the family, when you're close to them, is impactful. And then as families move across the country, sometimes you lose connections. So it's a chance, homecoming, it's a chance to reconnect and to remember what William Penn means to them, to us, and most of that has to do with the relationships, whether it's each other as lifelong friends, whether it's professors that you made connections with, coaches. It's just a chance to get back together and celebrate the achievements. And the achievements last night were just incredible.
I was so impressed with all of the speakers, a couple in particular. We're going to actually have as guests on the program. But I agree with what you're saying, and the phrase, "it's a small world," applies here, just from what you were saying. Because it doesn't take long to be in a conversation with someone where they explain where they're from or where they've got some family, and suddenly that person hearing what they're talking about is saying, hey, wait, I'm from there, or I know somebody from there. And so it is, in fact, a small world, and networking and diversity is such a big part of this fine university currently, is it not?
It is, and it has been forever. You know, we have this year on the Oskaloosa campus just under 1,000 kids from 40 states and 22 other countries. And it's a great opportunity for our students to learn what used to be called the soft skills that our country has totally forgotten, and that is, how do I work with, be productive, become friends with someone who may disagree with me on issues, who doesn't look like me, doesn't believe like me, doesn't think like me, and somehow become lifelong friends. And with that, they can go out in whatever career field they choose and be prepared to make a difference. And that's not only today, we've done that since 1873. Certainly did it when I was here in the 80s, when you were here in the 70s, Nik when he graduated last year. And you know, but to know that that's our legacy, it just didn't happen when we were here, but because of our Quaker heritage, it's been that way forever.
And again, I can't help but agree with you. It's just an amazing turnaround from when I was here in the 70s and the diversity that this school enjoys today. And talk a little bit about, and we're going to get more in depth with that with Nik, the athletic director, but your thoughts on some of the new athletic programs and some of the new student athletes that are being involved in some of these new sports.
Well, we're excited. You know, there's obviously, it's a challenging time for small universities, especially small rural universities, and what draws kids is the opportunity to participate in something. Marching band, music, athletics, and we're part of a conference that is constantly looking at growth opportunities, and we are starting men's and women's lacrosse next year. And men's volleyball, and we have a ready-made conference to go into. We're not looking at people to play. Men's volleyball may not be quite a conference sport, but there are several schools that are in it and several schools in the Midwest that play that. We're excited about that opportunity. I don't know anything about lacrosse, except I've seen it. It's like, okay, this is intriguing, but it's an opportunity to learn, and I know our student body's excited about it. And the kids that we bring in to participate, and running the cameras is another participation opportunity, or digital broadcasting. They're just some of the best students you'd ever want to meet, and some of them stick around. Like our producer came from Nebraska as a women's golfer and decided she just needed to stay put. Nik came as a soccer player.
Yeah, soccer player, golfer. I wasn't sure.
You came from New Jersey, baseball. I got out here for basketball, and there's something about this place that makes us want to stay connected.
And with that, you may have already answered my next question, because we've got to unfortunately devote some time to Nik Rule.
Yeah.
Much as I want.
I'm all for listening to you two.
Do you feel the love, Nik?
No, this is great. It's like legends here. You know?
But talk to, if somebody is watching us right now and hearing what we have to say about William Penn University, and they're at the crossroad, they're just getting ready to graduate high school, they're looking for a college. Aside from what we've already talked about, how would you explain to them that their best advantage is to come to William Penn University in Oskaloosa, Iowa?
Well, I would say that I want to reemphasize some of what I said, but this is a small school with a small faculty, and students will get to know who you are as a person. And with that, we'll open up some opportunities if you're brave enough to take them. We just had a young man who's, I just found out, who graduated about 5 years ago, that is working on a network affiliate in Des Moines, who just won a regional Emmy. Okay, that's our digital broadcasting program. That's a huge victory. But it is a chance to get to know the world in a safe and comfortable place, because you will get to meet, you will be in class with people from Australia, from small town Iowa, from Hawaii, from Alaska, from South America, and get to know people in a way that you would never, because you'll be in classes of 15 to 25 people. It's a great world experiencing opportunity that I don't think you can get in any other environment like we do it here.
And the added point to that is that may well be the most beneficial thing you learn, aside from being in the classroom.
Oh, it gives you the wisdom to use the knowledge that you learn in the classroom.
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. Nik Rule is in his second year athletic director here at William Penn University.
Seems like 2 decades.
Yeah, to John. Yeah,
you're
but I just graduated last year on his part. Yeah.
Nik, talk to about the specifics of lacrosse.
Yeah.
Men's, women's volleyball, and of course the bowling program, which has been in place for a few years.
Sure.
But is unique. I was talking to a woman earlier, alumni, and did not know there is a men's and women's bowling program here, and it's nationally ranked.
Yeah. So I'll talk about when John gave me the opportunity, this is a dream job for me. My alma mater, I love this place. This place is extremely special. Is the reason why the three of us are still sitting here. It's like, okay, what can we do for growth opportunities, right? In the world of intercollegiate athletics. And so we took a look at really every other sport that we really didn't have, and looked at, okay, could we do all of them? Sure, we could do all of them. We could start sports, right? But for lacrosse, we have a facility right behind us. We'll be putting lacrosse lines down at the stadium here, and the facility's ready to go. There are some things that we have to do, some goals, things like that we have to bring in order to get the right equipment here. But the monetary investment up front is much smaller than some of the other sports. The same thing with men's volleyball. We have the Penn Activity Center, which is where they will play in. So when you start a new sport, one of the biggest challenges is, do you have the facilities to make it happen? And with these 3 sports, men's and women's lacrosse and men's volleyball, we have the facilities. We have a few changes, modifications we have to make, but we're not having to break ground to allow these sports to happen. And so it just made sense, right? And they're growing sports. We're probably 3 or 4 years ahead of the curve of the big growth coming forward, especially on men's lacrosse and men's volleyball. And so we're ahead of the fold. And as John alluded to, our conference has the ability to sponsor that sport right now. So we're not going to be looking for a conference. And so it just was the right thing to do. We looked at, like I said, several others, and it just didn't make sense, but these 3 made a lot of sense going forward. And it helps with our enrollment, it helps with our sustainability, and it just brings a lot of even more excitement on campus.
How do you determine the sport that you're going to bring in competitively? Is it because students that enter and say, oh, I missed this, I'd want to play this? How do you make your decision about what sport you're going to add?
Well, and going in beyond the facility component, it's taking a look at the demographics in high schools in the United States and the country, and what kids are starting to play sports. Where are the trends? Like, you don't want to add a sport that's trending down, right? And so we were looking at sports. What sports are trending up? So what are our 2, 3, 5 year, what's the 5-year roadmap to where the projections of how many student athletes in high school will be playing these sports? And all 3 of these sports had a projection that is going up in the future. And so again, we're not at the apex of what's going on with these 3 sports. These sports are still growing within the United States, and especially lacrosse. And especially on the coast and now moving in. And so it made sense to us because there's a growth opportunity. We're not adding a sport that is having trouble getting student athletes at the high school level, and then we have the facilities there. No brainer. The next thing was finding coaches who you're going to talk to, and we feel like we got 2 really good coaches. Coach Christiansen is right now over the men's and women's lacrosse program, and the Coach Bentley over the men's volleyball program. Those 2 are exceptional individuals who really have bought into what William Penn is all about and have done a really nice job recruiting as we've given them this year to build the programs before we begin play next year.
Perfect. We got to kind of wrap it up here, but do so by looking at the camera and telling any high school lacrosse or volleyball player how they get more information, how they could become a part of William Penn University.
Yeah, go to statesmanathletics.com and go to our athletic directory and look up for your coaches. Look for Luke Christiansen and Luke Bentley, and then you can also go on wmpenn.edu, inquire in on through our admissions page, and those are the opportunities to be here. Now, why would you not want to be here? This is a beautiful place, beautiful facilities. We have beautiful facilities, and we have students from all over the world. And we really pack our home games, and it's just a really cool environment. You get kind of a big college feel at our home games on a small campus, and that's really special because small college athletics is incredibly special. So it's the right time to be a statesman. It's a great day to be a statesman.
Well, and the only thing you left out was the always perfect weather we have here in
balmy Iowa.
Yeah, and you get a meet round guy or a Pilch,
well,
too.
You can't put a price on that.
You can't put a price
President of William Penn University, John Ottosson, Athletic Director Nik Rule in his 2nd year, doing a great job. Thanks for your time this morning. I know you want to get back into the tailgate.
I just got to make sure our soccer game's on time.
The soccer game, it looks like it's still going on.
Yeah.
And the foot kickoff is at 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
We're going to play Culver Stockton.
Yep.
We're hosting Culver Stockton. Both teams 2 and 4. Somebody's going to come out on a winning end today. We hope it's
going to be Penn.
Absolutely.
We're ready.
Thanks, fellas. And when we come back, we're going to talk to a couple of new coaches of lacrosse and volleyball. Welcome back to the program. We are joined by 2 new coaches here at William Penn University. With me is Luke Christiansen, is the lacrosse coach. Next to him, Luke Bentley is the men's volleyball coach. Fellas, thanks for joining the program. Luke, tell us a little bit about your background. Give our viewers a chance to get to know you a little bit here in this segment.
Perfect. So I'm coming here from East Carolina University, where I was the head lacrosse coach there. Before that, I was the head coach of the Spanish national team. So coached them at the European Championships and the World Championships. And before that, I was at my alma mater, Southern Virginia, as an assistant coach and recruiting coordinator. And I got my start at Utah State University as a defensive coordinator. And that's kind of a broad overview, kind of my coaching background.
Now, along with what John Ottosson just said, and I quote him, he said, I know nothing about lacrosse.
Yeah.
I'm not far behind him. Explain to our viewers what the game, how it works, some of the strategies. You said you were a defensive coordinator,
Yep.
so there's obviously some defense to the game. Explain a little bit about the game of lacrosse and what we should look for in the way of getting to know how to look at a game more closely.
Yeah, so we'll be having men's and women's lacrosse, and it has a little bit of everything. You know, you've got a little bit of basketball, soccer, football, kind of all mixed into one. Very fast-paced, up-tempo game where they've just added a shot clock to men's lacrosse, so increasing the tempo even more. So our fans can expect a very exciting, up-tempo style of lacrosse where you're going to see a lot of goals scored and a lot of action.
Name a couple of the schools in the country that are leading the way as far as lacrosse, and whether or not we have them on a schedule or we're going to play them at any point, and how soon do you expect to be a nationally ranked contender in the sport of lacrosse?
Yeah, so at this point right now, Reinhardt has won the last 2 national championships within the NAIA. Madonna.
And Reinhardt, where are they located?
Reinhardt is in Georgia.
Okay.
So they're in Georgia, and they've definitely utilized the athleticism available to them there in Georgia. Madonna in Michigan is another program that's relatively new.
She has a college now?
She does have a college now.
Who knew? I bet it's
And
well funded. She's probably
They are
pretty wealthy.
very well funded, and they are putting a lot of money towards lacrosse. So they've had a lot of success quickly. Cumberland's is another good one. Missouri Valley within our conference has been a strong program over the years. And, you know, when we're looking at our expectation of what to expect for the lacrosse team, you know, for me, I try to mix a little bit of, you know, reality into it. But ultimately, we should expect to be nationally relevant within several years of starting the program. Anything else would just be selling ourselves short with the resources and the ability to recruit that we have.
I grew up in Central New York, and as a kid, I remember Syracuse University had some lacrosse. Explain a little bit about the background of where the sport came from and how it got started intercollegiately.
Yeah, so lacrosse comes from, you know, that area, you know, from the Native Americans in, you know, the upper New York and Canada area. That's why, you know, you have your Syracuse and teams from that area, Cornell, that are, you know, powerhouse teams. And lacrosse has long been, you know, an academic sport where it's thrived at Ivy League schools, top academic schools like Duke, you know, and now it's, you know, over the last few years, it's continued to be called the fastest growing sport amongst youth in high school and even college. So it's spreading out west, spreading into the Midwest. And, you know, that's why we're seeing right now of a boom of lacrosse programs here in the Midwest and teams adding here in Iowa and within the NAIA.
Now, is it quickly becoming prominent in high schools? Because it makes sense to me. I have not seen what I would think to be that many high schools that offer the sport.
Yeah.
And if they don't, then how is it as far as recruiting? Where do you go to find these kids that you want to have play for you?
Yeah, so within Iowa, you know, the high school lacrosse scene is a little scarce. There's only a few teams here. There's some quality teams, but not a lot. Minnesota is a huge recruiting hotbed for us. You know, there's tons of teams there, and it's a stronghold for us. Wisconsin is another huge recruiting bed. Texas is booming with lacrosse, so we recruit there pretty effectively. And then out west, Oregon, California, Idaho, Utah, Nevada, Colorado, all places that we're recruiting very effectively and where they're playing a good high level of lacrosse.
What do you look for in a lacrosse player? I mean, it makes sense. The athleticism has got to be there, but in specifics, are there differences in in things they have to do to be successful?
Yeah,
And what do you
so
look
with
for?
each position, we're looking for specific skill sets. With our midfielders, we're looking for, for athletes generally, guys who can create on their own and create plays for our other players. Defensively, we're looking for guys that are physical and can disrupt plays. Attack, we're looking for guys that are very skilled, have a high level of lacrosse skill, and are crafty, guys that can finish. If you're translating it to basketball, guys that were finishers. So that's kind of a quick, view of what we're looking for with our players.
Do you have some open tryouts that allow you to seek out some candidates that might be able to play for you? Or do you invite walk-ons to just try out? I mean, it makes sense that might be an option too, right?
Yeah, we'll pretty much be, pretty strict to, the guys we're recruiting, bringing them in. I do know we have a few guys on campus who played lacrosse in high school but are here, for football and other sports, and we'll invite them to come out. And so we'll have some open days where they can come out, and we'd love to have them as well. But with kind of, our location and, most of the guys we're bringing in are strictly coming in for lacrosse.
Okay, Luke Christiansen,
Yep.
head lacrosse coach. Tell folks how they can get more information about your new program and how they can come in and play for you, and things they can expect if they attend William Penn and want to play lacrosse.
Yeah, so anyone interested, in playing lacrosse at William Penn can reach out to me, via my email that's on the William Penn website. They can reach out through social media, any avenue, open through all of those avenues. And really what someone can expect if they're coming to play lacrosse at William Penn is an elite student-athlete experience where we are doing things the right way and we're building with the intention of playing for championships.
Perfect. Coach, thanks so much for your time. Let's shift now and talk with Luke Bentley, volleyball head coach now for men's and women's.
Just men's.
Just men's?
Correct.
All right, I stand corrected. Give our viewers a chance to know a little bit more about you. I know you're from Chicago. A little background about where you went to school and your background specifically in volleyball.
Sure, yeah. So I most recently came from Clark University up in Dubuque, and I was an assistant men's coach up there. And before then, I was at another school in our conference, Central Methodist University down in Missouri. I was an assistant women's coach there. And then I went to school in Indiana. I went to Manchester University, which is a Division III school in Indiana. And like you said, I grew up in Chicago. So I've been involved playing the game my entire life. So I've been coaching for the last 3 or 4 years in college. And I'm just super excited to be at William Penn, obviously, and starting the program.
Well, we're thrilled to have you.
Yeah, thanks.
What's it look like for the men's? Now, traditionally, we've always seen the women's programs. Yeah. So is it something that's pretty recent where men are able to compete intercollegiately?
Sure. Well, to give you some perspective, we just now officially got approved to be an official NAIA sport. So they needed 40 schools, so we played a part in being the 40th university, so that kind of pretty cool for us. But as far as collegially, there's been schools, for example, Clark University, where I just was, and then even St. Ambrose University down in Davenport have had a men's program for about 30 or 40 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So and back then they were playing anyone and anyone at that point. They didn't have anyone else to play. So, but most recently we've had seven. This is the 7th team in our conference now that we'll have. So it's been pretty relevant. I'd say the last 20 years, 15, 20 years. And as far as the youth level, it's growing just like lacrosse as well.
Now, how often have you been able to schedule some games and compete with your team from Penn University here? And what's going on with your current schedule or your upcoming schedule?
Sure. Well, we're in the same boat as lacrosse. We won't play yet. We'll play next year.
Okay.
So we're spending the year recruiting as well, just like Luke Christiansen's doing. And so, we'll just kind of go the same process and we'll schedule accordingly as well. I think we're in a little better spot as far as there's about 8 or 9 other schools in Iowa that have men's volleyball. So, Grandview, Graceland, Mount Mercy, up in Sioux City, Briarcliff, Morningside. So we have a good chance to schedule a lot of schools close, which is really nice. So we'll look into that in about 6 months from now and get ready for next season.
Now, how do you, obviously you attend high school games.
Sure.
But if they don't offer a men's program, obviously you're stuck a little bit. But so what do you just go out and recruit a kid that's 6'9"?
Yeah,
7 foot.
Never going to turn away that kid.
Right.
But high schools, unfortunately, Iowa doesn't have a lot. So it's a lot out of state, kind of like lacrosse was saying too. So a lot of stuff in the Chicago area, like where I grew up. and then kind of just all over the place, and even internationally. International men's volleyball is pretty big, so a lot of South American guys. We've talked to a lot of guys from Brazil, so it's kind of like soccer, which is going on right now. They have a lot of international presence. But yeah, there's a 6'10" kid on campus that wants to come play men's volleyball. I'm not going to say no. So
I was just going to say, in fact, you'd send a limo for him, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
All right, outside of height, what is some of the things that you would look for in a candidate to play for you?
Yeah, got to be able to jump a little bit too. So if you're not tall, you got to be able to jump, because volleyball is played kind of above the net, and the net for men's is pretty tall. It's about 7 feet 11 inches. So got to be able to get above the net a little bit. So there's definitely an athleticism part of it, but just an aggressiveness. And it's a lot of quick, short movements, kind of like basketball. So quick and athletic are both things that would definitely help being able to jump too. So
when I was a kid, and it was years before either of you were even born, I remember in high school, volleyball was something they offered in gym class for like 2 weeks.
Sure,
play
yeah.
volleyball. Never was offered the chance to play lacrosse. Soccer, same thing. In gym class, 2 weeks on soccer. Didn't give you a lot of time or opportunity to discover whether or not you really wanted to play and you really enjoyed it. But since then, obviously, those sports have obviously risen in popularity. And today you'd see groups of kids, little boys that back in my day were playing Little League Baseball, and now they're playing soccer, so a lot of these sports are now becoming more popular, a lot more interest in them. And so how do you explain that? How do you explain that volleyball is suddenly now so popular, especially with men, that you can offer it intercollegiately?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think a couple things come to mind. First, it's a non-contact sport. So you're contacting the ball, but besides that, there's a net in between you and the other team, and so you don't have to worry about the type of injuries you would get in basketball and football and other sports like that. So that's probably a big pull for parents that their kids not getting, hit every play. The other thing is I think they just realize how exciting it is. It's growing even on the women's side. You turn on ESPN and watch D1 women's, whether you're watching Iowa or Iowa State or some of those schools, and these girls are exciting and it's fast-paced and they're hitting the ball hard. And so boys see that and they want to play it. And unfortunately for us, that the boys hit the ball harder and jump higher, and so it's just as exciting. So I think it's an exciting sport, and they get to see it and they say, I want to try it. So that's kind of how it starts.
That's a great explanation. Tell me this now, because you're not going to play until next season.
Sure.
It makes sense you'll have some exhibition games, some practice games, that kind of thing. How are you developing the kids that you're going to have next season?
Yeah.
Now, I mean, obviously practicing, but are you going to play some games and some exhibition types of things to develop a flavor for what these kids are going to be doing?
Yeah, I don't think we'll do anything this year, at least not on the plate yet. But we'll get them in the gym and we'll get some reps in and train as much as we can to get ready for next year. I think William Penn's going to be really excited to see us play. We're going to be playing in the PAC as well, and we were very lucky to have a new light system installed by Musco just recently, and that's going to kind of make the whole game day experience pretty spectacular. So we're really excited. It's going to be a whole new thing, but I think everyone's going to love it. So
let our viewers in on how they can get more information about your new program, men obviously in particular, and how they can get more information and how they can further their volleyball career here at William Penn University.
Yeah, so you can reach myself at my email, luke.bentley at wmpenn.edu, or our athletic website, fill out an athletic questionnaire on the men's volleyball page, and go from there. So, yeah.
Okay, fellas, thanks. Luke Bentley, head men's volleyball coach. Luke Christiansen, head lacrosse coach here, and you both let our viewers in on how they can get more information. I hope you have so many kids turn out that you unfortunately have to cut a few. And I wish you success and look forward to talking with you both in the future about the success of your brand new sports. When we come back, we're going to talk to some current and recently, over the weekend, inducted Hall of Fame athletes from here at William Penn University. Welcome back to the program. Steve Pilchen here with you. We are at the Lacey Athletic Complex. Kickoff is about maybe an hour or so away. Kickoff's at 2 o'clock. William Penn hosting Culver Stockton, and I'm guaranteeing a win today. Take that to the bank. We're going to win. Both teams are 2-4, so we need the win. And with me now is a woman who has been inducted already into the Athletic Hall of Fame here.
Yes.
But over the weekend received the Ed Thomas Award, Jan Irby Littlefield. And Jan and I go back. We entered William Penn in 1972. I enjoyed watching her dominate the league on the women's basketball team. You were a powerhouse. I started off, before we came back to air, I said, you were one of the first people I met, and we were in the gym and we were shooting some hoops, and I told her I took her to school and beat her one-on-one several times, and she just laughed at me. And I may have made that part of it up, but you were one of the first people I met, and you were a very good basketball player, and in particular you played for Bob Spencer. And tell us a little bit about what that was like, because you were probably, with your women's team, one of the first to bring home a national championship here.
Well, I was the first Kodak Women's All-American that William Penn ever had. And Coach Spencer coached us. I started out at Parsons College, and he was there, and it went bankrupt while I was overseas playing with the United States team. And then we started the program at William Penn. And he's a pioneer in women's basketball, going from all over the state, having basketball camps, and getting all of us girls ready for coaching.
So you're in Europe playing for the United States, and you get word that Parsons College has folded. I mean, you must have...
Oh, yeah. I was in South America playing in the World's Festival in Lima, Peru. And came back, and he decided he was coming to William Penn, and we were going to start a program there. And when we got there, they didn't have women's scholarships, so I wasn't going to be able to afford to go to school there. And Coach Randleman had an extra football scholarship, so I actually...
So you were a tight end for a season.
I was a tight end.
In addition to women's basketball.
Yeah, I'm multi-sports.
So you weren't in Europe when you found out Parsons had folded?
I was in South America.
Okay, and your reaction then, you had to be completely panicked.
I was like, I have no idea where I'm going.
I'll bet.
So,
and yet it all worked out.
It worked out perfect.
So a tremendous career here for the women's basketball program here at William Penn.
Yes.
But that said, your coaching background is also a resume that is just beyond reproach. Talk a little bit about coaching and some of your experiences as a successful women's basketball coach in the state of Texas, which we know regards athletics as just a religion.
I enjoy going into schools. I enjoyed going into schools and starting programs and building them up. I really enjoyed that. Of course, I like to win, and we won a bunch, but I enjoyed bringing those kids that needed that person to look up to as a good role model, where those kids eventually will be good role models for other, students.
Sure, just life lessons.
Yes.
There was, during our time here, and Coach Bob Spencer, involvement with the women's program, I have oftentimes heard stories that he could be a little strict, he could be a disciplinarian, he could be sometimes somebody you love but hated at the same time.
Yes.
Tell us some stories about Coach Spencer.
One of those stories, in fact, I had dinner with him the other night, was telling he was really mad at us, and he thought I should rebound more, and I mean, he was just chewing me out, just up one side and down the other, and he's going, I'm hoping I make you mad, and you do this, and you do this, and then he goes, are you getting mad? And I go, I'm getting there, and he said, I knew at that point that I needed to just stop, that that was enough.
So he knew how to just go so far.
Yeah, he knew how to handle.
Now, you say you had dinner with him. I'm glad to hear you say that. I understand his health is not as good as we'd want it to be. Is he doing okay?
you know, he's had some problems and stuff, and you know, he is going to the doctors and stuff like that, but he's not as healthy as what he was. But he came out, and we really enjoyed having supper together and visiting and talking about old times and different things that we did.
Well, it makes sense. You'll talk with him sooner than we will. Please give him our best.
I will.
Now let's talk about the Ed Thomas Memorial Award. Ed Thomas was an alumni of William Penn University.
Yes.
And tell us a little bit about what it meant for you to win that award, because it's given to somebody that exemplifies and demonstrates a good coaching approach and just a distinguished career and just all-around benefit to the coaching profession.
It meant a lot because I'm one of these that I believe that you have to love the kids before they respect you enough that they're going to play hard for you. And especially the last school I was at, we had kids that were from poor backgrounds, and they came along, and you know, you show them love, you show them respect, and they would fight, and they came through. It ended up going to the playoffs and did great, and that's just something that I was always interested in. I wanted them to be great humans, good citizens, you know.
Just like you were.
Yes, just like me.
Jan, we've got a newly elected Hall of Fame, Athletic Hall of Fame, Jim Vescovi here. We want to get to him. But wrapping it up, tell our viewers that are just eager to know what you're doing now and how they can reach out to you and get a hold of you. Because I know there's a lot of fans of yours from back when you played that are saying, oh my gosh, there's Jan Irby Littlefield. And tell us a little bit about...
I'm retired. I'm remarried. We're both retired. We live at Lake Whitney, right outside of Waco, Texas. And I basically get up early in the morning and get out on the boat and go fishing and come home, take a nap, and maybe go fishing in the evening and spend a lot of time out on the water.
You know, you deserve that.
So
great.
It's been good.
Great to see you. Loved you when you were here. Tremendous athlete, even better coach. Kudos to you, Jan Irby Littlefield.
Thank you.
Now let's turn our attention to Jimmy Vescovi. Now Jim, Jan, and the three of us, we came into Oskaloosa 1972. Now Jim, you played football, but then you gave that up in an effort to play run track and field.
Correct. Yep.
Give our listeners and our viewers here a benefit of telling us a little bit about how you got here, how it was you got recruited here, some of your early involvement, and then your sophomore year. Talk to what you would have been declared there then as a non-traditional student, because you were married and you had a son.
Yes.
And that's a different approach than most
very
most
different
student athletes come into college with.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about
that. Coming here as a freshman, I had several different colleges that were interested, and I wanted to go someplace that had track and field and football, and Penn had that. So I decided to come here, and yes, in my sophomore year, my wife came with me. We gave birth to our son Jason out in University of Iowa Hospital, and it was a great experience, a very difficult time in our lives, but between me continuing with track and field, because I stopped playing football after my freshman year, and just continued 4 years of track and field, it was very rewarding and had a great time. Worked part-time on campus, and my wife worked part-time, and we had a local family help watch our son while we were doing all these things and trying to make it through in the 4 years.
Now, after graduation in '76, I've still got photos of you and me hugging it out.
Yes.
The day of graduation. Yes. A proud day for both of us.
Yes.
But that said, you moved on to teaching and coaching, and probably, not unlike Jan, made more of a career and certainly better results as a teacher and a coach. Talk a little bit about that as part of your resume.
Yes, I taught for 26 years, architecture and design and computer graphics, and I coached football, wrestling, and track for quite a few years. and slowly but surely gave one coaching spot up at a time, and to help watch our children, our own 2 children, participate in sports. But very rewarding coaching students and athletes that wanted to better themselves, and watched them grow, and had quite a few kids that made it to the overall states as individuals, and we had quite a few student athletes that made it as a team to the overall states. And
now,
rewarding, very rewarding.
You were nominated for Teacher of the Year in New Jersey several times, and you won it once.
Well, I was nominated by my peers in my school building as Teacher of the Year, and I was also nominated by the students another year. And when I was nominated by my peers, I was also then put into a category of going up for the Princeton Prize in Princeton University, which the governor hosts for all the Teachers of the Year at that time. I didn't win, but at least I was nominated, and it was very, very rewarding.
Now, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Everything that's happened, I'm going to ask you the same question, Jen, so you have a moment to think about it. But is there anything, I mean, it'll be a 2-part question.
Okay.
With the success that both of you have enjoyed, and the resume that speaks for itself, with the recognition that has gone with a successful career, not just as an athlete, but as a coach and teacher, is there anything you'd do differently? If you had it to do over again, is there any one thing you'd do differently? And then the other part of the question is, of all of the things that have happened to you as an intercollegiate athlete and teacher and coach, pick one thing out that stands out, that if someone were to say, what's your most enjoyable moment? What's the most meaningful thing that's happened to you? What would that be? So answer, Jim, take a minute and answer both parts of that, and Jen, you get the benefit of thinking about it for a moment. All right, Jim, go ahead. What would you change if
what would I
you had
change?
To do over again? Yeah.
Do it over
don't
again?
Say,
From 1976? Oh, no. I would definitely want to have met you again. That's definite. What would I have changed? I would have tried to push myself to be a 4-time champion instead of a 2-time champion in the javelin.
Okay.
But I had Ron Tower before me, so he was a great javelin thrower himself.
He was a great athlete in track.
All right, so, that would probably be the only thing I would change at that moment as far as athletics is concerned.
What about the most enjoyable moment in your career? Student and coach, teacher?
Well, taking a student that has less ability, but you could see that he has something in him, and making him become something and someone. Or taking a student that is going downhill and changing their life in a way that they actually graduate. You make sure that you help them graduate high school, and then they turn it around. You see them 10, 15 years later, and they say, I want to thank you for changing my life, because I was going straight downhill with drugs or alcohol or what have you.
And I'm sure that happened many times.
Many times, especially as an administrator in the front office.
Okay. So you've had time to think a little bit about it. One thing you could do over, a mulligan, if you will, with your career here as a student athlete and coaching and teaching, and one major, and I know it's a tough question for you to respond by saying one thing more than any other is the most memorable.
I don't know whether I would change anything. I accomplished a lot when I was playing. And I guess the one thing that I would be the most proud of was that I was able to represent our country 2 different times. Playing Russia all over the United States, getting to play in Madison Square Garden and all of that, to playing in the World's Festival in Lima, Peru.
I'm confident that that's an honest response. And yet don't discount all of the accolades you brought William Penn University, because you did that regularly. And playing on these all-star teams Europe and what have you. That was something that was, I'm sure, an awesome experience.
Oh, yeah.
But it didn't happen nearly as often as representing William Penn University.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
For the Ed Thomas Award and your outstanding time here at William Penn University.
Thank
Jim
you.
Vescovi, same thing to you. One of the university's most recent Athletic Hall of Fame recipients. I was there.
Thank you.
What a speech. You got very emotional.
Oh, I did. I did.
But I wasn't surprised by that, rightfully so. Thanks to both of you.
Thank you very much.
For being on the program. And when we come back, we're going to have a couple of other special guests that I know most of you will know. I certainly do. Thanks so much. We'll be back right after this. program, Steve Pilchen, here at the Lacey Athletic Complex, where William Penn University is about to kick off and win the football game over Culver Stockton. Both teams had a record of 2-4, so somebody's going to come out a little closer to 500%. But be that as it may, I am joined now by three very special guests. And two in particular are fraternity brothers of mine. I've known them for over 40 years. All right, I'm making that up. But let's start with a gentleman that I had a chance to meet last night, Dewayne Hogan Sr. Dewayne, happy to have you here.
Well, thank you, Steve.
I was so tickled to hear your speech last night. You were very motivating and articulate young man.
Thank you.
And I know our viewers are saying, well, I may know the guy, not sure. Tell us a little bit about your background. You graduated from William Penn in '72.
Yeah.
Tell us where you recruited, where you were living, and how you got recruited here, and some of the sport. I know you played football.
Yeah.
But talk about your career here as a student athlete at William Penn University.
Well, I'm a product of Gary, Indiana. Born in 1950. That was a good time in the 1950s. Coach Bill Johnson came out in Gary, Indiana to Frayville High School, and he was recruiting, and he talked to some of us. But we had football legends like Big Ed Williamson, Henry Johnson, Tommy Johnson, and Charles Dickinson, and those fellas that was preceded, Larry Brumfield, all those guys went to Frayville High School and preceded me here at William Penn. So that was the ultimate thing that brought me here.
Okay.
And during that tenure, I was able to move out senior, not a senior, but an upperclassman at linebacker. So that was a glorious spot. And we had a good time with all the coaches. And eventually I had to move to center because we were getting beat pretty bad at that position. I had to give up my glorious position of linebacker. But I gave one for the Gipper.
There you go.
One for the Gipper.
Very unselfish. Now, were you here? Was Wilbur Young was here then?
Yes, Wilbur Young.
Tell us a story or two about Wilbur.
Well, the bottom line, I would hit Wilbur, bam, bam, but I'd always move out the way before he fell. The worst thing you could do was let Wilbur fall on you. All right. But over the years, I saw him go through a transformation, and he was like, humongous. When he became a senior and he came back that summer, it was like, whoa, is this Wilbur? He was lean and mean, and he was a fighting machine ready for the pros.
Just like you.
I don't know about that.
Good.
But
Tell us the highlight, because before we got here in '72, the Penn football team was good, but they didn't enjoy the success they did until a year or two beyond that.
Yeah.
Speak to that a little bit.
Well, what we were doing, we had some rough, tough dudes, and we trained all these young men coming up behind us.
Okay. Apparently did a good job.
The school of hard knocks is what they went through. We were like 6-3 and 7 and something, but we didn't quite make it over the rim there for a title. But these guys right behind me, I graduated in '72. And then they came behind me the next year and they won the boot bowl and some other bowls.
Boot Hill Bowl.
So we gave them a good training and a whipping too.
Yeah, all the time, every day too, every day. That's why they call it the hamburger squad, because that's what you look like
we
after
love
you
you
practice.
guys.
Now, Dewayne, you received last night the Distinguished Service Award.
Yes, sir.
Speak a little about that. Because it makes sense that as a student athlete, you enjoyed some success. But it makes sense, too, from what I learned about you last night, is that post William Penn University, you've enjoyed some success. Let our viewers in on some of what that involved and a little bit more about your resume and what it meant for you to receive the Service Award, Distinguished Service Award.
Well, the Distinguished Service Award is for someone who's done outstanding services. Well, I thought that, bottom line, I just do what I do, and I didn't look at it as being something special. But other people thought different. When I graduated from here, I was blessed enough to get a job with Bechtel Corporation, doing on a nuclear energy plant in Palo, Iowa, near Cedar Rapids. Played Cedar Rapids Raiders, the first semi-pro football team. Finished that nuclear energy plant, went to San Francisco and with Bechtel Corporation. And when nuclear energy went out, we went into the mining and metals division with Fluor Corporation. For 33 years I worked there, traveled around the world, Saudi Arabia, Brunei, and Chile in the Andes Mountains. And it was just a beautiful relationship. I loved my work. We worked in engineering, procurement, and construction management, and I have no complaints for what happened. I went some places that I kind of wondered, what am I doing here? Up here in the mountains by myself with a few other guys, But it was an experience that I wouldn't trade for anything. I did have an opportunity to be a Cub Scout master for 35 boys, and I was wondering how did I get in that, but it worked out. I liked it. And later I had a basketball team, co-ed basketball team that we won the championship, and I've never coached basketball. And I was wondering about that. But when I got into church, New Hope Missionary Baptist Church, we had a boy man retreat. And guys, 65 average, but this year we had 115 boys and men. And what we do, we go up there and we fellowship, we teach them about God and the Bible. And what happens, we have a growth in the membership, we have a growth in spiritually about these young men, and we give them mentorship as well. So it's been a blessing, and they was all enthusiastic, looking to come back next year. And they said they can bring a friend.
Well, it's no wonder why you won the Distinguished Service Award last night. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. I
had a great
appreciate it,
speech in your receiving the award.
He should
Thank
just
you,
keep
Jesse.
going. You know, motivational speaker. Just let him go. Don't slow him down here.
No,
He's on
man.
the road.
Did I overtalk? I'm sorry. Did I overtalk? Girl, I'm sorry. Take your time.
This guy can sell the Pope a double bed.
I can't sell my wife on anything.
Well, Dewayne, happy to have you here. Now,
God bless you.
to your left, Bill Cronin. To your right, Jim Brokaw. Both legendary William Penn University football players.
Yes,
Thank you.
Back in the day, it started in, let's start with you, Jim. You got here in 71.
71. Yeah.
Okay, tell us a little bit about where you came from, how you were recruited to come here and play football, and a little bit about your career here as a student athlete.
I came from New Jersey. They said you can't stay here anymore. You have to go someplace else, and that's why I ended up. They came to our school and asked around, and I really didn't want to stay in that area because a lot of guys would go to colleges close. They'd be homesick. They'd go home on weekends. They'd quit school. So I wanted to go someplace further away, and I chose Penn, and it was a great choice for me. I just told Dewayne. He almost made me quit football. True story.
Why so?
My first week here, this is true, I can't make this up. I was running sprints next to Dewayne, and he's a senior, I'm a freshman. I'm thinking, I can outrun this big guy, right? He's beating me by 10 yards in a 40-yard sprint every time, and I thought, wow, I didn't see him with the running backs over there. That's because he was a lineman. He was playing linebacker and center, and I said, I can't be a wide receiver being outrun by the center. I got to find another sport. And but yeah, I hung in, and Dewayne was one of those guys. A lot of guys around then. Greg Lang, Bill Poland, or Bruce Poland, Greg Lang, David Scott, the older guys that encouraged us and said, hang in, we got great things. We knew great things were on the horizon. You could sense it. There was such athletic ability around the whole campus.
Well, don't discount yourself because, and this must have happened recently, but I remember seeing your name on the all-time list for football. You had some school records.
I was recently voted the slowest wide receiver for the 70s and the 80s. I didn't play in the 80s, but they figured that had I done that, I would have got that too.
Well, those are certainly
right, and I'm proud of those. There's a plaque going up as we speak. It was supposed to go downtown by Chief Mahaska, but some of the chief's relatives said they didn't want the slow pale face next to the chief, so there's an alley down by the Hardys is where my plaque is going.
This self-deprecating moment is completely false. You, sir, you're already in the William Penn University Athletic Hall of Fame, as well you should be. And I wasn't kidding. I know up until recently you held a number of records, football-related. So speak a little bit about some of the Boot Hill Bowl. I know you were in.
You know, I didn't play in the Boot Hill Bowl. I was actually hurt that year. Bill played in the Boot Hill Bowl.
Bill Cronin,
a lot of the
guys,
and it just again we had so many weapons back then, and I really feel like that I'm in the Hall of Fame, but I was there because defenses were not constructed to stop me. We had starting from Frank Guthrie, Carl Johnson, we had the best running backs in the league. We had the best offensive line in the league. We had a great defense. Bruce Poland, Greg Lang, the guys that were great players. The defenses were designed to stop them.
Well, and back then, as you said, Bill Cronin, everybody was huge.
Yeah. Yeah,
Richie Townsend.
Yeah, big off. The
everybody-
Gustafson brothers, both in the Hall of Fame.
So in your 4 years here, pick one thing. I'll put you on the spot because I know there are numerous. Pick one memorable moment that you think, when somebody says, hey, how did things go? The first thing that comes to your mind as far as an accomplishment here.
An accomplishment for me?
Yeah, whether it's academic or athletic.
Well, it certainly wasn't academic.
I was going to be shocked if you said so.
Yeah, right. No, the building would fall down. Hey, you know, a moment for me is just being a part of all of those guys. I was in awe of guys like, I told the story, Greg Lang. The first time I saw him in a game, he was the best punter in the league every year, best running back. He could throw, he could run, a Frank Gifford type player. But he was running, they rushed him from the right. So he punted the ball with his left foot. And who does that?
Yeah.
He could punt with either foot.
Wow.
No one does that today. And Greg Lang, Bruce Poland, to play on the same field with these guys, you know, Billy Cronin, the Gustafson guys, that was an honor for me. And not one special thing.
Well, that's a very unselfish way to respond. So let's ask Bill Cronin then. You were at the Boot Hill Bowl.
Yes, he was. And they won it.
And
we won it.
You were a big part of the offensive line because give us your dimension.
about 6'5".
Six, okay.
Yeah, it's probably one of the bigger
6'6" in heels.
Yeah,
maybe?
probably in heels.
Okay.
Yeah, if I was dancing that evening, I did a lot of dancing on the.
You are the only
on
one
the
that's
turf.
warm on this dais, by the know. You have bundled up. So
You know,
good for you.
Sue bundled me up before I came out here to make
Good.
it look good.
Talk a little bit about where you're from, how it ended up that you came to William Penn University, and give us a background of your 4 years here playing some football.
I came from Des Moines East. I had a couple opportunities to go play in big time schools. And Ron Randleman came to my school, and he brought me in, he sat me down, he said, if you come to William Penn, I can guarantee you will start and play for 4 years. And that was huge for me. Now, my best friend was also an offensive lineman in high school named Dave Gustafson. And so we got together and we said, hey, if we go to William Penn, we could be a combination there. So we came down here in '71, worked our butts off, and the third game of the season, they put us in the starting lineup, and we played, I think we played Simpson. We got beat the first 2 games, the third game we got in, and from there, it's all history. I mean, we just gelled real well with Brokaw and these guys. I mean, Hogan was in there too. I mean, we really had a good team.
What was in your 4 years? And I'll ask each of you guys this: in your 4 years as football players for William Penn University, aside from yourself, although it could be a viable answer, the one, and you made me think of this, the one guy on your team that you looked at regularly and said, that guy's amazing. That's the best athlete I've ever seen. Does anybody come
Jim
to mind?
Brokaw?
Oh, no. Oh, God.
He had hands. He had hands.
He did have hands.
He had hands. You know
Hands
what?
like frozen bread.
You know what? We could always depend on Jim to get loose, get open, and catch the ball and get us a score.
If you needed
you're so
14
quick.
yards, yeah, I could get you 14. I couldn't get you 15, though, because I couldn't run.
You really did. You got the first down. That's all that counted.
Yeah.
And I think that was great. We had a really good. We were gelled together, this team. I mean, we kind of lived
Very
and
cohesive.
died. Yes, I mean, sun up and sun down. We're like brothers when we were on this team. So yes.
I remember back in those days when the Penn football team would get beaten, and it didn't happen often. No. But it was, you had an upset stomach the rest of the weekend. You just felt, you just felt bad. Dewayne, what about you? When in your career here as a student athlete, the one teammate, player, athlete that you saw that you marveled at regularly because of their ability, what they contributed to athletics here at Penn?
It was so many, Steve.
I know.
Really, I truly can't pick one because everybody contributed somewhere to make a difference.
Sure.
Really. The blockers, the receivers, the tacklers, they made big plays, and it was like, oh, we love you, because that could have been it for us. So I can't name one, I truly can't.
Okay.
Everybody played superb in my eye, and everybody had their days, but nobody was 100% all the time. It was truly a team.
I was thinking you were going to say Wilbur, but that's a more judicious response.
Yeah.
And I got a feeling you're going to say the same thing.
About what?
About the
yeah.
athlete. That,
There was just so many, and like Dewayne said, everybody had their job, and you picked each other up. Bill was nice. He mentioned me. I remember a game I fumbled 3 times and cost us the game. Okay, but
and you remember
teammate,
those days.
and those are the ones you remember. But
Unfortunately.
teammate after teammate, that's what I remember picking me up, going, "You're going to be back next week.
Yeah.
Well, you're
gonna be back
forgiven.
next week."
You're forgiven today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Because all the
You're
good
still
you did
high on my
before.
list.
Exactly.
No,
right.
you made a lot of you moved the ball. That was
Yeah.
key. As a lineman, you wanted somebody moving the ball.
Bill Cronin, former offensive lineman here at William Penn University. What do you do now? Are you retired?
No, I'm not retired. About 5 more years. I'm the executive vice president for Electronic Engineering Company in Iowa, and we're a Motorola distribution company. We sell Motorola products.
Well, good to see you. Good
Thank
luck.
you.
Continue.
Thank
Good
you.
luck with
Thank
your
you. Thank you,
occupation
Steve.
up until you retire.
I will. Thank you.
Brother Jim Brokaw, while you are, I know you're involved with local theater, and no one should be surprised to hear that. He is a thespian, star of stage, screen, and so wrap it up and tell, because we got to go. I'm getting the high side. Thanks so much, Dewayne. Again,
You're so welcome.
congratulations
God
on the
bless you.
Distinguished Service Award last night.
God bless you.
Bill, always good to see you
Good
and
to
your
see you,
wife,
Steve. Thank you.
Sue.